All right. Hello, my name is Lita Carbone. I'm the Instructional Support Specialist for the College of St. Rose. And today we're going to talk about using Zoom breakout rooms to their full potential. So first is, what is a breakout room and how do I do that? So breakout rooms are essentially mini Zoom rooms that you can create in your meeting. You can split participants into smaller groups outside of the main session. And you can also swap participants within the groups. And as the host, you can join each session whenever you'd like. There are two separate ways that you can create breakout rooms. You can do it while you're in the Zoom session itself by selecting the breakout room icon. The other way that you can do it is you can pre-assign the groups in advance. You have to make sure that the students are using their St. Rose accounts, because otherwise it will not come up in the system when you are trying to pre-assign it. So you would do that when you go to the schedule a meeting, and you can create the breakout rooms from there by searching for the participants in your class. Just make sure that you have the breakout room pre-assigned option selected when you are doing your scheduled meeting. All right, so how do we make breakout rooms more engaging? Much like in the classroom, you'll notice that many of the same students contribute to a discussion. While this may be helpful for students to learn peer-to-peer, it can be exhausting to hear from the same voices all the time. Breakout rooms are a great way to help with group planning projects. You can use it as a way to have the students engage in games. And it's also a great way for students to network with guest speakers. If you have a guest speaker and the students are doing research about a particular topic, this can be a great opportunity for the students to ask specific questions relevant to their research project and also take notes on the speaker's responses. It's also a great way to break up the speaking to the entire group. It helps provide smaller pods for the students to personalize and engage with the speaker. The big bonus with Zoom is it has helped us access more people than we may realize. If you branch out to more people in your field, it provides the students more access to people that they necessarily wouldn't have had access to before. And it also helps with costs and whatnot, trying to get those speakers to participate in your classes. And it's a great way to develop professional relationships for your students before they leave the college. You always want to encourage your students to meet outside of class when planning group projects. However, there may be times where the best time to meet for them is during class. So by allowing students the opportunity to have group meetings about upcoming projects, it's also a great way for them to interact with you in real time if they have a question, if they want to make sure that their project is going on the right track. So if you also have a lot of Zoom runaways, you can schedule the time for a midpoint during your class and make sure to pop in to each group randomly once or twice to ensure that everyone is present. And as I mentioned, there are games that you can use in those breakout rooms, and you can assign game show hosts, which I will talk about next. So the other way to make breakout rooms more engaging is by assigning breakout room leaders. So if you pose a question or a clear discussion point or activity for the students, the breakout room leaders can help take notes and keep the task on track. You can always pop in and check in on the progress as well. So as I mentioned with the game show host, if you have students that need to memorize a lot of terminology, then you can use a website such as wheelofnames.com and input certain terms that the students need to know for an upcoming quiz. You can share the link in the chat before splitting off into the breakout rooms, and have the breakout room leader be the game show host and make sure that they're memorizing all of the terminology that they need to know. You can also create a document to share with the students, or at least the breakout room leaders, and clearly label it as, breakout group 1 or with the student leader's name or breakout group 2. You can do it as a spreadsheet, so it has multiple tabs, or you can have it as a Word doc that is an online version, such as using it in SharePoint, or if you have a Google Doc, you can do the same functions that way. So if you also have TAs, it's a good time for them to kind of jump in and help with classroom management and give feedback, but only encourage them to jump in when absolutely necessary. So next we have annotating documents in breakout rooms. By allowing students to have sharing capabilities for this activity, they are able to defend certain points that they would like to make. If you share a document that I mentioned before, the SharePoint or Google Doc in the chat, if you give the students a few minutes to review it before going into the breakout rooms, then they can kind of address those points for if it's a philosophical discussion or things along those lines. If it's a math problem, they can work on the problem first and then join the breakout rooms and compare their answers and how they got them. So if you have the students annotating on the document, if it's a philosophical discussion or developing a defensive argument for something, then they can debate and show evidence to support their interpretations of the document. All right, so how to keep students on track. By using the broadcast message feature, you can use it at the beginning to give the instructions for the breakout room session. And you can also let the students know, okay, you need to wrap up in this amount of time, and then restate the point of the breakout room session. So, and in addition to that, you can also have the instructions clearly labeled on that document that I mentioned before that the breakout room leaders are using. So, if you have the instructions written out in multiple spots, then that way it helps the students stay on target. You can also use a countdown timer. The breakout rooms do have an option where you can close the rooms after a certain amount of time. Now, if you have students that need extended time for learning needs, I suggest not doing this option, because they normally need the extended time. But if this is something you would like to try with your class, this is an option with the breakout rooms. Just be sure that if you do this, that you give the students plenty of notice that this is when the rooms will close. It will close automatically, so please stay on target. All right, and so that is the end of the presentation, and let's go ahead and try it out for ourselves.